Welcome to Design Diary, the podcast where you get to look inside my board game design notebook as well as what's going on inside my head. We look at a new word each day from the sense of mechanics, tone, theme, or inspiration for a full game. Today's word is
Mnemonic. Assisting or intended to assist memory, also of or relating to a technique of improving the memory. Of or relating to memory. And the interesting about mnemonic is that it has an M at the beginning, but it's said mnemonic.
Mnemonic. Mnemonic.
So I had a debate. I wrote this down so I remembered, which is funny. I had a debate, a little bit of a discussion with Mike Mullins just today about memory in games and how people tend to hate it, and it's hard to even have a little bit of a memory aspect to your games because people just don't like it for whatever reason. Part of it is if someone has a better memory, they have an advantage. I mean, that's probably all of it, but if somebody has a better memory, they have an advantage. And if you have a lesser memory, you feel like you struggle and it's a little harder and disappointing. And, it's hard to catch up. So I started to look at this as something that assists with memory, a tool or an action or something that would enhance memory. And then I went to the basic game memory, where you flip tiles over and try to find a match. And you flip two tiles to try to find a match, and if they don't match, play moves to your opponent. When you go again, you've gained a little bit of info from your previous two that you flipped over to try to find a new match, usually going for a third new one or one that you knew from before. Helps make your next turn a little bit easier. And the problem is if you forget, you're shot. You're starting over, your last turn was a big waste. And waste of time in games is usually corresponds to no fun. But a mnemonic tool for memory could be a pen and paper. And I don't know if that makes the game more or less interesting. I mean, there's really nothing to go off of from a game. You're flipping two tiles over. But this is at its core basic level. Does having a pen and paper make that better or worse? Or does it not even matter? But if anything, it makes it more complex of a ritual to go through every turn, to sit there and write things down, where they were, trying to figure all that out. So as an action to assist with memory could be a second look. If you're unsure of what was under the tile, but you remember which tile it was, because remembering one thing is often easier than two, you could ask for or just simply take a second look at that same one at no cost, or at a small cost, or whatever it would be. You're not gaining any info that you didn't have before. You're just making up for having that bad memory. So one of the things that I looked at on this word was these examples. James taught his students the mnemonic sentence, "King Philip came over for good spaghetti," which helps remember the levels of biological classification: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. I'd never heard that, but I did hear the one with the letters of the musical staff, which is E, G, B, D, F, every good boy deserves fun. So I thought of in a party game setting, it would be really neat to have almost like a code word. The code word is in play, and your job is to, let's say, just remember a whole bunch of code words. So they're coming out round after round after round. And for you to remember those code words, you would do something like that. Have like a little mnemonic statement. Every good boy deserves fun. And what I thought was neat about it was if let's say a letter comes out. Let's just say it's letters instead of words. So code letter comes out. You're trying to remember the digits and the letters of the code. Letter comes out and it's A. You have to share your way of remembering that. So you could, and you have to share it. You have to write it down and share it and put it right in the center of the play. But you don't necessarily want other players to know what that means. So if it's an A, you could say first. I could say Jason and know that the second letter of my words is the code word, the code letter. And the whole idea is other people to try and pick up on these codes. You want to be extremely vague with them so other people don't catch on them, but you want to be strong enough that you will remember them. Now, a player with a good memory still has the advantage in this game, but it's sort of taking that and putting that little spin on it to where you're giving up the information. So somebody who has a good memory but is really bad at, deceiving others, their advantage starts to drop. Somebody who's really good at deceiving others and has, a very bad memory might be, could be strong in this, and they still have to remember what their code was and how it correlated to the letter they saw. But having a connective element usually does help with memory. So that was the kind of where I went with it. This little party game, really simple to prototype. You throw out letters or numbers or whatever, and then everybody has to, not everybody sees them, but I see one and I put down my code, and you see one and you put down your code, and then at the end of the round, everybody's trying to guess what the full code is, and maybe whoever's closest, it wins. So everybody sees one or two elements of the code, but they see everybody else's contribution. I feel like this has to already be a game because it's just that simple. It might not even be that fun, but in its core, it's a very simple concept. I also wrote some notes about capture, like a completely different game where memory is not an aspect, but it's abstracted into the theme. Over the game, you are learning. You start with one action. I can do one thing. Let's say it's like a deck building kind of game, and I can take a card. So once I can take a card, then I gained another action, and it's just sort of like a tableau builder or something along those lines, or I get a second action, and my second action is I can look at the top cards of the deck before, and then I can also use my other action to pull a card. So over the course of the game, I'm gaining all these different actions, but my memory pool has a peak. Like I can only have 5 actions, for example. Once you get past that, maybe you can take on more, but if you do it, you have to roll a die for success, or once you get past a certain limit, there's some sort of downside. But what I was thinking was the mnemonic side of one, having hints and clues to help you with your memory, and the second was to have tools that could help you with your memory, where they represented writing things down or documenting something in a different area. You have a notebook, which is a little side tableau that you throw a couple other things on. And the notebook ones can never be forgotten, unless somebody steals your notebook. I have no idea. But basically I thought of it as just a, combo-y pool build, tableau building game that had something that impacted that. The tableau was everything you could do. Something impacts that tableau in a way that you can't do everything, and sometimes you can't do anything 100%. You have to work to get it back. You can have these little side tableaus that are 100% because they're not using your memory. I don't know. Memory is an interesting thing to me, and it's a hard thing to get right in a game from a mechanic side. It's one of those things that it's kind of like a love or hate. But I don't hate it. I don't hate anything. I try to find the good in it and something interesting in it. So my question to you is, do you hate memory? Can you find something interesting in it? Can you find a way to make it part of a game? I mean, even thematically is fine, but I guess the tricky part is to make it part of the mechanics. But what do you have? Any ideas? Does it spark anything? If it does, let me know. And if not, let me know. It's cool to have the conversation regardless. We've been having some good conversations on Board Game Geek, the designer forums. We have a little thread every day for Design Diary. And it's been growing, and there's some cool people on there chatting and coming up with ideas. So that's another place you can join us. All right, and also join us this weekend with designer Jason Glover. He's our special guest. And we'll be back next week with more Design Diary. Thanks, and I'll see you around.